Are you still doing that little photography thing? Aunt Margaret's voice cut through the clatter of silverware. When are you going to get a real job? I started, but my older brother Nathan jumped in. She's been finding herself for 6 years now. Some of us have responsibilities, he said, glancing toward his wife and their 2 kids. My parents nodded, approving. Speaking of responsibilities, Dad's voice boomed over the dining room, freezing the chatter. We need to talk about your situation, Claire. My stomach nodded, but I stayed calm. Learned that long ago. We've been supporting you for far too long, he continued, his tone cutting like glass. The allowance, the rent, the car payments, they're ending. Effective immediately. The room fell silent. Cousin Henry smirked into his mashed potatoes. Aunt Margaret raised an eyebrow. Even teenage Emma looked worried. You're 29, Claire, Dad said. Nathan was running his own business at your age. Cousin Luke bought his second house. What do you have to show? A few photos online. I sipped my water, irony biting at my tongue. Here was the man lecturing me about responsibility while living in a home I secretly owned through a shell company after his failed investments. The BMW in the driveway. My gift. The charity donations Mom flaunted. My accounts funded them. Even this Thanksgiving spread. Paid by me. I understand, I said quietly, setting down my glass. Good. This isn't punishment, Dad softened slightly. It's about independence. Nathan leaned back, satisfied. Maybe now you'll take a career seriously. I could get you a starter position at my firm. Filing. Receptionist work. Honest work. That's generous, I replied, rising. But I should head home. Thank you for dinner. Mom frowned. Claire, you don't have to leave. No, it's fine. I need to think. I grabbed my coat. Dad's voice followed me to the door. This is for your own good. You'll thank us someday. I'm sure I will, I murmured, stepping into the crisp November air and toward my unassuming Honda Civic. Driving through the streets of their exclusive neighborhood, I couldn't stop smiling. Every home, every streetlight, every manicured lawn, they were mine. My company, Meridian Holdings, had developed it all. Even my modest Queens apartment. Another property I owned, though my family believed I was a struggling tenant. Inside, I poured wine and logged into my encrypted accounts. My net worth, $847 million. Photography was my passion, business was my real talent. Over the past decade, I'd quietly funded my family's lifestyle, Dad's dealerships, Mom's charity image, Nathan's business deals, all secretly under my control. The phone rang. Dad. Claire, I hope you understand dinner wasn't personal. I do, actually, I said smoothly. You're right. I should take full control of my finances. All of them. Excellent, he said, relieved. Independence. Responsibility. By midnight, I'd made the calls, financial advisors, attorneys, corporate executives. Monday morning, everything was in motion. The first calls came at 9:47 a.m. Mom panicked about her credit card. Nathan's voice followed, tight with anxiety. Business accounts frozen. Credit cards declined. By noon, 17 calls and messages had arrived. And I sat back, smiling. The invisible hand had finally revealed itself. The family group chat was blowing up. Dad, banks say our accounts have been compromised. Working with fraud department. Nathan, same here. 3 business accounts locked. Mom, girls' lunch is cancelled. My cards aren't working. Aunt Margaret, is anyone else having banking issues? My investment account shows 0. Uncle Thomas, What the hell is going on? My credit line is suspended. I let the messages sit for hours before replying once, having some tech issues with client payments, too. Banks probably updating systems. Should be resolved soon. The truth was far more complicated. I hadn't closed their accounts. I had just revoked my support. Dad's dealership accounts looked frozen because the hidden credit lines I'd set up were gone. Nathan's business cards stopped working because the guarantees I provided had been withdrawn. Mom's shopping accounts were suspended because the trust fund I created was no longer accessible. None of them had lost their money, they just lost access to funds that were always mine. Tuesday brought escalation. Dad called an emergency family meeting at the house. When I arrived, the room was tense. Nathan paced anxiously, his usual confidence replaced by visible stress. Mom clutched a mug, her makeup slightly smudged. Even the house felt different, no fresh flowers, the heat turned down. "Thank God you're here, Claire," Dad said. "We're facing a family crisis." "What kind of crisis?" I asked. "A coordinated financial attack," Nathan explained, running his hands through his hair. "It's like someone with serious resources is targeting us." "That sounds paranoid, Nathan." "Is it?" I asked. "Every single account, personal, business, credit lines, frozen in the last 48 hours. "That's not coincidence," he said. Dad nodded grimly. "I've been in business 30 years. I've never seen anything like this. It's as if someone flipped a switch and all our finances vanished." "Have you called the police?" I asked, sinking into the armchair I knew I owned. "We tried," Mom said quietly. "They said it's civil. Banks claim the accounts were closed by authorized parties, but none of us authorized anything." Uncle Thomas, who'd driven from Connecticut, looked weary. "Claire, I hate to ask, given your situation, but do you know anyone in finance who might help us?" All eyes turned to me, the struggling sister from Queens who took pictures for a living. They wanted my help with a multi-million-dollar crisis. "I might know someone," I said carefully. "Let me make some calls." Outside on the patio, I pulled out my phone. I didn't call anyone. 10 minutes later, I returned, reviewing stock performance and property emails. "Good news," I announced. "A financial consultant says this usually involves someone with insider knowledge and massive resources." Dad's face darkened. "You mean someone who knows our accounts, spending patterns, business relationships, all our financial structures?" Nathan froze. "Who would have access to that level of detail?" I let it hang for a moment, then walked to the center of the room and raised my phone. "Someone like me." Confused silence. "Claire, what are you saying?" Mom whispered. I opened my banking app and held it up. $847,346,982. Dad squinted, disbelief written across his face. "That can't be real," he stammered. "No error," I said. I opened another app, showing real estate holdings, then business portfolios. "For the past 3 years, I've been funding your lifestyle. Your house, cars, business accounts, credit lines, it's all supported by my money." Nathan laughed weakly. "Impossible. You take pictures. You live in Queens." "I live in Queens because I own the building, and 12 others. Photography is passion, not necessity," I said, scrolling to a property deed. "This house. Purchased via Meridian Holdings when Dad's casino investments failed. You've been my tenant 3 years." Dad's color drained. "That's impossible." "Not at all," I said. "The dealerships were bleeding money. Nathan's consulting firm survived on contracts I arranged. Morrison Industries, Westfield Development, all my investments. I passed around corporate filings, bank statements, property deeds. Mom's hands shook. Dad, your BMW. Birthday gift from me, delivered with a card from Mom. Mom, your charity work. Funded anonymously by me. Uncle Thomas stared open-mouthed. Claire, these filings show you own nearly 40% of Westchester, including this subdivision. Outside, the landscaping crews worked, employees from a company I'd acquired to maintain property values. Dad finally whispered, "Why? Why do all this?" "Because I love you," I said. "And because I wanted to prove something, to myself. While you all dismissed me as struggling, I was building a real empire. While you worried about my future, I was securing yours." Nathan looked at his hands. "The emergency loan that saved my business last year came from me. I've been your guardian angel for 3 years." Mom's eyes welled. "Why hide it?" I walked to the window, gazing at the manicured lawns maintained by my property management team. "To see who you were when you thought I had nothing. I wanted to see if your love depended on my success." Dad's voice was barely a whisper. "And what did you learn?" I turned to face them. "I learned you're good people with skewed priorities. You love me, but you love the idea of success more than the person. You measure worth in money and status instead of character and kindness." "Claire," Mom stood, taking a step toward me. "I don't feel unloved, Mom. I feel disappointed. Yesterday you cut me off financially to teach responsibility. Today you're asking me to help with a crisis. Do you see the irony?" Dad cleared his throat. "What happens now?" "That depends on what you want," I said, sitting in the chair facing them, power position secured. "You have 2 choices. First, I restore every account and credit line. You continue life as before. I stay your secret benefactor, pretending to be the struggling relative. Nothing changes." "And the second option?" Nathan asked softly. "We start over. I stop hiding my success, and you stop treating me like a failure. I'll help you build real businesses, real wealth, but it requires work, humility, and seeing me as an equal partner, not a charity case." Uncle Thomas leaned forward. "Claire, I don't understand. How did you build all this? Where did it start? Remember my internship at Goldman Sachs? You all thought it was filing papers. I wasn't filing, I was learning investments, building relationships. After graduation, I used savings and a small loan for my first real estate purchase, a foreclosed Brooklyn property. Renovated, sold for triple. I repeated the process 12 times in 2 years. By 2018, I had enough to acquire larger properties and invest in businesses. Photography was my passion, business was my talent." Mom's eyes widened. "Why didn't you tell us?" "At first, I wanted to prove I could do it alone. Then, when Dad's casino venture failed, I realized I could help while conducting an experiment." "Experiment?" Dad asked. "To see how you'd treat me as unsuccessful versus successful." "Educational." Dad turned to the window. "We failed your test, didn't we?" "It wasn't pass or fail. It was research." "And you're capable of growth," I said. His expression shifted, genuine humility in his eyes. "Claire, I owe you an apology. We judged appearances, not who you are," he admitted. Nathan looked up from documents. "If you'll help us start over, I want to learn from you. Truly. Not just take your money." Uncle Thomas nodded. "Same here. After 20 years in construction, I need fresh perspectives." Mom sat beside me. "I'm proud of you, and ashamed of how we treated you. Can you forgive us?" "Nothing to forgive, Mom. Plenty to rebuild." "Where do we start?" I opened my phone. Honesty. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., my Manhattan office. You'll see what I've built. Then we build together. 9 a.m. You have an office? Nathan asked. Top 3 floors of Meridian Tower. My name's on it. Dad sank in his chair. How did we miss this? You looked at the apartment, the car, my simple life, and assumed that was all. You never asked about my goals or strategy, just what fit expectations. Mom added, now we see if we can build better together. I stood, gathering my purse. I'm preparing for tomorrow. You should, too. And yes, Dad, the house heat is restored. Utilities continue as normal. At the door, Nathan called, Claire, thank you, for saving us, teaching us, giving us another chance. I paused, smiling. Don't thank me yet. Wait until you see what we build together. The drive to Queens gave me time to process. Texts flooded in, Nathan, I can't believe what you've done. Nervous but excited for tomorrow. Mom, I love you. Sorry it took a crisis. Dad, you're right about our priorities. New beginning tomorrow. Uncle Thomas, never thought to ask my niece for advice. Looking forward to learning. That night, in my deliberately modest apartment, the base for my empire, I mapped the family's future, real estate projects using Uncle Thomas's construction expertise, consulting showcasing Nathan's skills, investment strategies teaching Dad how to grow wealth beyond luck. 3 years as their invisible guardian. Starting tomorrow, visible partner, mentor, collaborator. The family that cut me off Sunday would begin real financial education Wednesday. And for the first time in years, I couldn't wait to see what we could build together.